So I feel like we were just doing that launch back, countdown. This is first go live. So
Yeah.
welcome to another episode of Money in the Bank with Frank, everyone. We are happy to have a brand new student in the house, and I figured we could talk finances with young Alec Veal here. So why don't you go ahead and roll that intro?
First time, always a glitch. I know I only have one job, but what's always an interesting topic?
What's always an interesting topic is, we think of AI from people who actually are in the workforce and how it's going to affect our jobs and what's going to happen there. But what about the other side? And when I spoke to you a little earlier, we were talking about getting you an internship this summer.
Yeah.
I was kind of blown away because I hadn't really thought of it from people that were A students, like either going in, or what if you're graduating with a degree in something that AI may alter substantially, like all that 4 years of work. So just as a nutshell and a refresher, I had this conversation, and Alec called me up and said to me that, I wanted to go into management information systems. Like, what should I do? And I think popular consensus is that the fundamentals are still the same, and AI is just going to enhance a lot of that. So having structure and having an understanding of the backbone of what's happening is still important. But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts now? What are you thinking about?
Yeah. So I basically came in wanting to do MIS, like in the hopes of having
Which
a
is
valuable
management
field.
information systems.
Yeah. So basis
Yeah.
of coding. So I came in, and then it seemed like a good market, like it was growing like really fast. And then AI came out, ChatGPT came out, and then ChatGPT can do what like a regular MIS student can do in like 2 seconds. So it's just like, how valuable is that skill if I'm going to the university for 4 years to do MIS, but then like ChatGPT or AI can take it over and do it for me. So it's just like a struggle and like a fear of like finding a field of AI, like that AI won't take over so easily, and something that's valuable and like can actually be used as an asset in the workforce.
And I know that you're probably not going to know the answer to this question, but one of the questions that I really do have for the educational system as a whole is like, what are they going to teach? How are they going to change the curriculum?
Yeah.
As a youth at a much younger age than you are now, they said that we weren't going to be able to have a calculator near us. Like you have to learn everything because you need to, how do you know when you're not going to have a calculator near you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's college is definitely a big, it needs a lot of adjustment, like tests and all that stuff. Like ChatGPT can do everything for us. Like all the college students, they use ChatGPT for all their essays, and like it's just like an easy way to do stuff. And all the curriculum is still like, I think it needs a lot of adjustment for like to be valuable.
So I think that teachers are going to have a really hard time because, unless it's got, some incorrect information, you don't do your own research to strip that out, which I guess kind of almost helps you learn the subject matter anyway. But how does a teacher know that you're not cheating when you're doing everything online? Like everything is like so many of these things. I went to Dallas County College to take some classes just to learn something new, right?
Yeah.
And it was so hard just getting through the registration process. At first it was still when COVID had just kind of opened up, so they were still doing a lot of registration online, which was one system.
Yeah.
And then when I got registered, trying to communicate with the teacher was on a different system, which had all the materials. And then the third system was like, when you meet, where do you meet? Here's a new browser you have to download. Here's more stuff. It's like, I felt like I was getting a degree in information systems as opposed to just agriculture. I was literally taking a course in agronomy. I want to learn how to plant stuff.
Yeah. It's definitely on the topic of knowing how they cheat. They don't know. Like especially ChatGPT, like they have no idea like what's real, what's not real. All they do is like oh, if you guys get caught, then you're gonna get expelled, obviously. But they just don't know. Like they're trying to catch up as same as we are. Like they're in the same boat as we are. So it's just everyone's trying to catch up with AI and like get adjusted to it since it's like brand new to the mass public.
So having learned how to read and write and count, multiply and subtract, and learning that and knowing that it's a natural language interface, where as long as you know how to speak to it properly, it can come up with answers to the large language, right? LLM, large language model. So it brings up a good point. I have a lot of friends who are kind of steering their children to do something more manual or trade related, not just like we talked about outside. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see people that have gone to college with you that have already said, you know what, this isn't for me, and I'm worried about AI or anything like that?
Yeah, a lot of my friends have like switched to a trade, which is like, I know a lot of people that are doing like going to become electricians, and then development. A lot of people are switching to that, which I think is honestly it's a good option because AI can't really not like for the next, in my opinion, 10 years take over like labor. I mean, that requires a robot and then all that stuff. So that's like in the future. So I think a specialized trade like electricians or plumbers, like that's still like in high volume because they're always looking for electricians and plumbers.
I have a good friend up in New York, Glenn. He's a elevator mechanic, union guy, and he is the funniest guy in the history of the world. But he says that his elevator kung fu is like the best out there in the business. Everybody wants Glenn to work for him.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what AI can't do? It's like they can build a robot. They can build a robot to climb up into this hole, like above traffic and everything. But all it takes is one idiot like me to have left out a $10 wrench.
Yeah.
And that robot's going to hit the ground and there's $1 million wasted.
Yeah. So that's definitely a viable option for a lot of kids that are switching to that I've seen recently.
And how many, like, was that, I mean, obviously AI came out November.
Yeah.
Was it an immediate impact at school?
Oh yeah, right away. Remember it was senior year and I had like all these senior essays and I just did one click and they're all done for me. Like, and all the students just like, they caught on really quick and they started using, all the teachers are starting to catch up, but
so look, it's a tool. You can't put the genie back in the bottle unless, you know, I guess maybe somehow they're going to come up with like Getty Images where they actually have like a little watermark or something.
Yeah,
you know,
to detect it.
Like, to detect it, but you know, then you print it and scan it and email it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they catch this. Someone's clever. Someone will figure it out. But it's happening, right? You know, it's happening. Not that you've done it yourself,
no,
because
not at all.
But you've heard that people are doing.
Yeah, I've heard people. I've never done it just for the public to know. Yeah, I've never used it. Yeah.
I used it, and it's real fascinating for content, just coming up with ideas. And now I've just got the free version, so I don't have the ability to like put in different articles and have it check that stuff out. But one of the things that I'm really interested in is just like, you know, when they were ripping music early on, it was really easy and people were getting sued and kicked off of Napster and stuff until they found a way to do it. But like, how do you keep, like, I'm curious about like, if you don't have a subscription to like the Wall Street Journal and someone shares a link with you and you drag it and drop that link into the chat bot and say, summarize this for me. Does it do that? I don't know.
I believe so. I haven't checked it, but you can put like a whole book of information to ChatGPT and it'll summarize it in like 50 words. So it's really useful of like summarizing, and I think it'll be an issue of like, for artists, like they'll like use AI to like make songs with the artist voices, and that's a huge problem right now.
Oh, I know. Can you imagine, like, you know, having like every movie that we've ever seen, you have to listen to somebody's voice, or some of the bigger financial firms that have that voice print. It's like, you have been verified by voice print or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like, oops.
Yeah.
Right.
It's definitely be a huge problem with like copyright and just stealing people's work. For sure.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So,
I mean, have you heard any of the deep fakes or like the AI Kanye songs? Or
yeah, I've heard a bunch of them.
Wild.
Yeah, there's a lot of new songs that like I think it's like from a new artist, but it's just AI. Like you have no idea. You can't even tell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be a problem. That's gonna be a problem.
Have you heard of? So you were talking about wanting to get into MIS, and then figuring out ChatGPT can do all that. Have you heard of Auto GPT?
I have not personally. No.
So I just found out about it yesterday. I was seeing Mark out there, one of our employees, using it to basically, not only will it write scripts for you, but you could give it a mission, like a complex multi-part mission, and it will basically fulfill that and walk through how it's doing that. And you can guide it and navigate it. So basically you have a team to create a project, and you're the project manager, and it's super cool. Super buggy still, but just give it time.
That's the scary part. Find a way to hack into the vault and deliver me gold.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just going to work its best to try to get that done, right? I think I've seen that book. So we've got a down day in the market today, and I guess it's debt deal as well as China. There's one of the things that I find fascinating about these different market moves, and everyone's always worried. There's always uncertainty in the market. It's buyers and sellers. But you've got NVIDIA now, right, who makes obviously the world's best chip, I guess. But you look at these companies in China. China's production manufacturing numbers are horrible. Same thing with South Korea. A lot of these bigger established governments are taking it on the chin economically, and we keep humming along. We keep humming right along. So why is it that companies like NVIDIA and 5 or 6 other big stocks are running the entire stock market when the rest of the world's taking it on the chin? Do you think that NVIDIA and these other companies should share their technology?
That's a good question. I'm not super educated on it, but so I can't give you a good answer. But
opinion.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
Opinion. I think yeah, they should share it ethically. But if you have all that power, then why should you though? If you're in that position. But ethically, yeah, but it's just a problem of they have all that power and hold on the market. So
what's your pivot if you find out that if you start taking classes that you think aren't going to be helpful in the future? Do you just take the class and finish it up and just get your degree and walk away, or do you want to learn as much as you can at school in the things that you think are going to be valuable, no matter how long it takes?
Yeah, that's a big crisis right now. I'm trying to figure out the best way to be a valuable person, as to the society, to the workforce. So I'll stay in college, do the MIS degree. There's a lot of classes. I'm taking astronomy next semester. It's about just stars.
It's all math. It's all math. You were gonna. I don't know if you love math.
I'm not a big math guy either. So yeah, and it's 5 times a week, and it's just the biggest waste of time in my opinion. So college.
So why are you taking it?
I have to. It's part of the general course. Yeah, education. I have no choice. So there's a lot of classes that I have no need for, but I'm trying to my goal is to build a skill or find an avenue where I can be a really valuable person, because with AI, I don't know how valuable any of these degrees will, most 9% of the degrees will be out of college in the next 4 years.
So I hope that it continues to be this way, but I got my degree in something completely not related to what I ended up doing for a living, and I like to think that it's going to be the same thing. The degree, granted, if you know exactly what you want to do and you've got a goal to do, go from undergrad to graduate degree to a PhD or to a doctorate of some sort, and those are necessary steps. But if you aren't sure where life is going to take you, and you're kind of rolling through it, just get the degree, right?
Yeah.
Because it costs a lot to stay in.
Yeah.
And the break even, which I hope to teach you throughout the summer, is about efficiency. So I've hired Alec to be my intern for the month to walk him through small business ownership. I'm going to try to expose him to a bunch of different job types and jobs in general. A lot of informational interviews from experts with degrees from Stanford and AI, all the way down to the manual labor of selling stuff in a storage unit. So
Yeah.
he's going to run the gambit for
Yeah.
the month. And I hope to bring you back on at least at the very end to talk about, what you've learned, if you thought it was valuable, if you feel strongly in any direction into what direction you want to move. Because I think another part of life that gets lost now is everyone wants to get from A to B, B to C, and have these plans. But then there's also now a new generation of people that, like Christopher said outside, that, I want to steer my kids into doing something that doesn't require a degree.
Yeah.
And that can happen now because we have all the tools, even without a degree, to do the work. If college was all about learning how to write a research paper on Beowulf, well, I can type that in there. That's a sentence of work.
You can do it in 2 seconds. So yeah.
So what are your thoughts about the summer? What are your thoughts on experiences? What do you want to learn? What do you want to do? What do you want to get out of it?
Yeah. So basically, I want to learn as much as I can. I want to see the different type of fields, like you said. I want to just scope out what's the best option and pathway I need to take over these next 3 years.
So when you say you need to take, what do you mean? Do you mean you feel driven that you have to get a degree? Do you feel driven that you have to get a degree in something specific?
Not at all. I'm trying to just find the best option. If that's getting a degree, I mean, I'm gonna get a degree. But if it's building a skill that I don't need to go to college for, then I'll do that 100%. I'm just trying to find the best pathway where I can be successful, whether that's with my degree, with not my degree, taking a Harvard online course about coding and just doing that in my free time, or just finding the best way where I can be successful and build myself a good future in the next 3 years. So that's my main goal over this next month.
Boy, me too. I want to be successful 3 years and then have my life set ahead.
I'm just trying to figure it out. Yeah, just trying to work towards it.
Yeah, no, that's fun. That's good. So we'll work on that. We'll work on getting exposure to all aspects of it. Okay, so we're sitting here. Market's still down. Portfolio's still pretty flat. I'm sure you have many questions. What questions do you have for me? What are some questions you've keep in mind we're here? What's some questions you always had about what I do for a living?
Yeah, basically, I don't really know what you do for a living, so I guess we'll start there, just the basics.
So I think what happened in my career span has changed quite a bit. I was probably the last generation of financial advisors that worked in a full service brokerage system. And when I say full service, I say that, you had advisors and brokers out there that would call you up and say, hey, I know that you have X amount of money. We're going to buy, 500 shares of IBM. I'm going to charge you $700 in commission. We'll call it a day because I came up with a great idea.
Yeah.
And now, because of the discount brokerage firms and the new models of assets under management, some people do it by a percentage, and basically no one does it with the commission anymore. And so you had to find a better way to add value other than just saying I'm buying and selling a stock. And what we decided to do, what we fixed was that we decided that we would be pretty holistic and help our clients through the struggle of the stages of life. So as a financial planner, I start with my clients at whatever age I can, hopefully younger than older, so you can train them in order how to think and how to save. So when you say that you want in 3 years to be able to know which direction I want to go so I can be successful in life, once you get your first job out of college, once you're actually your own person, it's very important that you start dating, looking to different financial advisors at different places, whether it be a discount brokerage firm, or I know a lot of people, introduce their financial advisor to their kids, so on and so forth. But find out, okay, let's make a budget so we know how much you're making. That way you can figure out how much you can blow, right?
Yeah.
And then let's talk about your benefits. What are your benefits whenever you graduate from, or whenever you have your first job? Do we have health insurance? Do we have life insurance options? Do we have disability? Should I take out disability? I'm 20, right?
Yeah.
So there are these different break evens, and it's all math, right? It's all math. It's like, how much money do I need to have at a certain age? Or I have a certain amount of money and I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I either help you get into the get rich camp, or I If you're already rich, I help you stay in the stay rich camp,
Yeah.
right? And all of those are different types of asset management, also different layers on the onion. So if you are self-employed, do you do it by yourself? Do you use your own tax ID number and you individually, which would be a horrible idea?
Yeah.
Or do you set up a business? And how do I set up that business? Do I incorporate into a regular corporation? Do I do an S corp? Do I do an LLC, an LLP? So that's what I do. I help people figure out how to structure business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, what would you suggest as like a person, my like 20-year-old college student, like what's the best steps to take to set them up financially?
Well, my goal for you is to see if you like this industry
Yeah.
and hire you. That's my goal. But honestly, I would say that, just like everything else, you need to try a shoe on before it fits. There's people such as yourself. Your father's in management information systems, correct?
Yes, he is.
And he does well. And so that's probably, and he's a good guy, surprisingly.
Yeah, he's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, obviously, you kind of mirroring. That's a successful profile. That model works, and that's no different than what we do when we look at companies and value them and see if we want to invest in them. You do the same thing. Is it a model that works? Was it successful? I want to model my
after it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of where you are right now, and I think that's where a lot of people go because they don't really have a plan of their own. So let me see if someone can fit me into it. And that's my thing is like, you need to make sure that you are not put into somebody else's plan because they will put you wherever they want and you may not like it.
Yeah.
Right. I had a conversation with a young man that's graduating with a double E from A&M in December. Good for him. He's already got a job lined up at a company. And I said, well, what are you going to do there? Do you know what team they're going to put you on? He goes, well, they're going to have me check around a few different ones and then they're going to put me somewhere. And I said, that's great. I mean, you have everything going for you except one thing. You need to make sure that whatever it is that you like in that rotation, that you go there. Don't let them put you somewhere else because you've done all that training and you're going to find out, they put you somewhere where you didn't actually like it. And you're going to have to keep going down that road because I think if AI does anything, it is going to force us to specialize to the nth degree.
Yeah.
So starting off with a big base of education that helps you learn how to think is one thing, but eventually those tools are there for anybody that has that basic, it's a great equalizer. So for specialization, I think is going to be important to make sure that you do come up with what it is that you really want to do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you recommend like doing the 4-year degree, but also like getting a master's in business, or would you recommend just going to workforce and then going off of that?
It's very dependent on what career path you want to do. If you are a lot of people think that if you're in finance, you know all the same stuff that everyone else in finance does, and that's completely ridiculous. I've taken on interns, and I've got every one of my interns is, God bless them, more successful than me. One of my former interns is head of mergers and acquisitions for Schindler, which is that elevator company and lift company. I got 2 of them hired to Goldman. They won't let me in there. So, but again, that's on the finance side. I've got one who ended up going to work at a retail place after he graduated. He was forced on me by a client, so I had to take him on. Yeah. Not my choice. Still feel like 100% success rate. But if you're going to go into finance and you want to get an MBA, that's fine. I do think that there's the benefit to doing that is that you have it, right? You'll have the master's degree. Does it help you in your first set of jobs? Probably not, because you don't have the expertise to really make use of it, right? But I will tell you, if I had a master's degree, I'd be happy that I had it. Yeah. Right. But I'm not going to be able to go back and get it now. And that goes to the second part of the equation, which is your mindset. Once you start making once you get your undergraduate degree, you start making a little bit of money, it is very hard to convince yourself to go back to school, to eat the subpar meals, to study and have the, your schedule wrecked by whether or not, something's due or not. So it's hard. I would say an MBA is good for something that you had, well, maybe even more relevant to something that you had in the future, right? Who knows what the requirements are going to be of a master's degree in the future?
Yeah.
Maybe even harder.
That's true. Yeah.
That being said, I also think that at a young age, it's not going to really help you with anything because you're not going to have the experience to understand really what they're talking about. So I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. Also, for some parts of finance, MBA is not necessary.
Yeah.
Right.
That's very true.
What else you got?
I would say, I'm not sure. I just.
Well, Harper Belmont's, paying the hourly fee.
Yeah. You do some time. Kind of off the same boat. Just, I guess I'm in college, so I'm just worried about college the most. What would you say, do you still think, a big question with all my, college friends is, accounting? Do you think AI will take that out first, or do you think that's still a valuable field to know?
God, I'm so torn on this one.
Yeah.
Accountants are the bane of my existence. Accountants and lawyers. So I think it's a natural layup to assume that accounting would be simplified, right? I think that if it has all the information and everybody that reports to you any income at all is filed and the IRS gets a copy of everything, I don't know why they don't just have it automatically. But, the accountants are there for a reason. People that use accountants save money in taxes. And the accounting lobby is very strong, right? Insurance companies would go out of business if the accountants didn't have their say and there weren't tax loopholes. That's a lot of money out there. So I think the difficulty with accounting and accountants is that personality-wise, I haven't met an accountant, no offense, I haven't met an accountant that genuinely has real outgoing personality traits. You're staring at a screen all day. You're focusing on everyone else's numbers and math all day.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a hard life. It's very monotonous. So you have to be, you have to have the right personality type. If they were doctors, they'd be radiologists. They sit there and read films all day and talk and tell people exactly what's wrong. Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with accountants. Do you want to do that? Do you want to stare at that?
Yeah.
I think that accounting would be taken out, could be taken out by the bots, but we'll see if it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big worry.
Should be, and also, you were talking about forced specialization. I mean, if you know how to use those bots, someone still has to. Maybe there'll be less, like with everything. There's going to be less of sheer number soldier accountants, but
and you'll have, as we talk about that specialization, the how to ask the question, all of that's going to get even easier and easier too, right? I'm worried that our lexicon, our actual speaking lexicon of words, will be diminished by the words that people want to learn how to do stuff, like the inputs. You get to use that flowery language now.
Yeah.
Maybe that doesn't work as well. Maybe it works better. I don't know. I actually I challenged one of my clients the other week, and he's just too busy to do it. Well, let's be clear. He's probably doesn't want to know the answer, but I do.
Yeah.
I asked him. He's a writer. He loves to write, and I asked him, "Do you have any old manuscripts that you haven't finished? Maybe you started a chapter and you're like, this is terrible. I don't want to do it anymore." Cut and paste that into the chatbot and see if it finish this novel.
Yeah.
See what it does. See what it says.
It probably would. Yeah.
I think that if he did that, though, he might be disheartened. Right?
Yeah.
I know that the first thing that came out of his mouth originally when I told him to do that was like, it's an art. It's my art. And I get that. I get that. But from someone who reads a lot and listens to a lot of podcasts, I don't care. I just want to be entertained. I don't care if you wrote it or if a book wrote it.
Yeah.
I just want to hear it or see it, So I think this is a great enabler for people that are just starting out. You can get right into a field by using the machines.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
it's definitely a big thing with teenagers nowadays, using AI, using online to start businesses or start like their own thing, which is like a big craze. But it's definitely cool to see, like, there's so many ways to make money nowadays. It's not just the normal college 4-year route, get a job. You can do it online, like with my brother. Like, you can create a software bot that will help you get sneakers. It's always a way to make money. Is what
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
learned. Yeah.
Yeah, Sneaker Haven. Not a sponsor, but you know, for the right price, they could be.
Yeah.
They could be. Reach out to us at Harper Belmont.
I have a question for you, Alec.
Yeah.
I'm curious, if you could make money doing anything, what would you want to do?
That's a good question. It's like every like teenager says this, but like I'm really into the fitness industry. Like my dad is. He's a health nut. He's crazy. So if I can make the money anyway, it would be through either owning a gym, which is probably not a good way to make money right now, or just anything to do with sports, which I know is like a typical like teenage answer, but I'm really passionate about that stuff.
Nice. There's a lot. That's a pretty broad interest, and there's a lot of, opportunity there. I feel like.
Yeah. Also, lacrosse too. Like I played lacrosse all 4 years of high school, and if I could somehow make money off of that or start a brand off of that, that would be like a thing I would actually enjoy doing every day.
What was that website that you went to? What was your lacrosse reel or something? Didn't you have like a lacrosse reel or something that you put together at one point?
Oh yeah, it's on Huddle. It's just like that's where every athlete uses.
Have you heard of that, Sohail Huddle?
No, I have not.
It's a good website. Like it'll go through all your tape and it'll make like a highlight tape like for you in like 10 seconds.
Can you imagine, since it says Sohail, take a look at it. Go in there. Here's what's interesting with AI. Just imagine this. That website, Huddle, probably has every amateur, right, athlete that's in their graduating class that plays XYZ sport in this particular position. Right.
Yeah, literally everyone's on Huddle.
And they could go right there, and the scouts could like just look at all those films and figure out who to really focus on.
Is
a
this
lot
it?
easier.
No, it's 1D. It's HUDLE, I believe, or maybe there's no E at the end.
I think it's HUDDL maybe.
Yeah, try that. Yep, there we go. Yep.
So do a search. Let's go for how do you do it? You just type in.
You might have to create an account, but
forget it then. Too much work.
yeah, that's a lot of work. But it is a good website. Every athlete uses it in high school, and everyone I know.
Wait, so you upload all your tape and it creates that for you, but then is it like social? Like, does it keep it on there for other people to see?
Yeah, like so you like I have a channel technically. Like you just search up a name and then like all the film of that athlete will be on there. And usually to Huddle, and then Huddle can like pick out your number and your name and like pick out your highlights for you automatically.
Oh, we're gonna have to do high school. Yeah, what do we got there?
Well, maybe not high school. Hold on.
Well, no, that's when he was a high school student going into college and trying to get recruited by one of these lacrosse teams.
Yeah, but I don't want to put. We can put adults on here.
You know, I don't know that I want to hear the answer to that. So I don't.
Just being respectful.
So
okay, so they're playing like they broadcast games.
Yeah, they broadcast games.
Okay.
Upload film. They do everything for recruitment.
How have I never heard? That's big.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty interesting that could be like one of those. I could see them putting their content into like a sandbox subscription version where it's like you're a professional recruiter. We can give you access to who we think is the best based on our algorithms, right?
Yeah.
That'd be neat. So maybe something with that,
Yeah,
something like that.
that is
But by
true.
the time you
That's
graduate,
avenue.
they're gonna have already figured it
Yeah,
out.
they already have 2 companies or 3 companies already do it by the time I graduate. But that's definitely an avenue for sure.
So,
Well, reach out, do some research, and reach out to those companies that are bubbling up and see how you can get in.
Yeah, that's true. On the ground
While you're
floor.
in school, you don't have to wait. You said by the time I graduate, you're not tied down.
Yeah.
it's another idea. We need to look up Ryan Totka. We got to get him on the show as well. He's a small business owner that works in the sports athlete world. I think you met him.
Yeah, I
You
met
might have
him, I think, at your wedding. Yeah.
Yeah,
I met him there. Super nice guy.
yeah, yeah. Great. Well, market's still down. Today.
Do you get stressed out, Frank?
I just get bored when I find I ran out of stuff to talk about.
No, I'm talking about the market. Like,
No, not actually. It's emotionally draining though, because you know that you have to be able to pivot on a dime, but it's really hard to do that when you know and you have training and you've got experience seeing and recognizing certain things that you think are being completely ignored based on things that are happening now versus things that happened in the past, like interest rates, right? We've been hammering that. We've been talking about valuations. We talk about, how the stock market's overheated. I've mentioned several times today about the fact that there's like 5 or 6 companies that literally have 25% weighting of the index. If you take a look at 31 NVIDIA valuations, you've got the national debt. It's like, are 31 NVIDIAs really representative of the United States? Mm-hmm. Is that maybe overvalued
that's
a little?
wild.
Yeah.
Is that maybe a little overvalued, right? Or is everything else off? I don't know. If I look back at history, I don't think that that's the case. I think that someone's math is wrong somewhere, and I hope it's not me. And that's what happens. You start questioning yourself and your judgment. And just when you think you're wrong and you cave, that's when you're proved right. If anyone takes a look at the Fidelity Magellan Fund, there was a fund manager named Jeff Vinnick, who was brilliant, amazing, and he was like 2 years too early. And it's representative of what was happening now. It was literally he went into treasuries, and the market continued to run up with Netscape and everybody else. And by the time Fidelity finally drummed him out, the market turned, and he would have made a fortune. Now, I don't feel bad for him because he's spectacularly wealthy, and I think he owns a sports team of some sort.
Yeah.
So I don't feel bad for him, but I do feel bad for him because he was right, and it just ran out of time.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with the stock market, is it can just emotionally destroy you. The past 2 years, I've got gray hair. I didn't have gray hair before.
Yeah. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah. And you've got to be able to take that. And, to do my job, you have to have a high EQ. And, that means that you take on problems for your clients. You take on a lot of their stress and anxieties as well, because you're living through it with them. They call you, like, what do you do? Well, let's see. If you're a new client and you just sold a business and your wife doesn't want to hear about it, your attorney, you don't want to call him. It's going to cost money. Your accountant doesn't have the right answers. Who are you going to call? They call their financial advisor and I'm just really stressed out. And I just want to talk about, what's happening and how I don't like what's going on in the sale. And, who else are they going to talk to?
Yeah.
And then they need someone to hold their hand. And that's my job.
Yeah.
So it's tiring. It's challenging. I wouldn't call it boring, but I would call it very stressful.
What would you advise, like, if someone wanted to go down the path you are? Like, what would you advise, like, steps to take?
Wow, it has opened
things
up
to do.
So much. First of all, I feel like it's a profession that not enough people are getting back into, because they feel like the bots and the apps are just as good as going to someone, an advisor, which is true and untrue, right? You can absolutely do everything that I do for my clients? Yourself. No problem. No doubt. But then how much time in the day? What's it worth? What's it worth to you?
Yeah.
In addition, no app in the world is going to be able to like bully you enough to get your wills and your trusts done, to make sure that your estate planning is done, to make sure that registrations are done, that the proper insurance is taken out, to make sure they're using the right point of sale system so that you're not getting overcharged. All the things that an advisor does is discounted because you could do it yourself. Yeah. I could probably build a fence myself, but I have no interest in doing it. Right.
Yeah.
So what's your time worth? And the average financial advisor is in their mid-50s, I think. I think maybe higher. You know, I might be the young end of the curve. So it's got a lot of upside for anybody that was interested in doing it. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
And you can work out as much as you want.
Yeah.
Do you hit on the EQ thing? Do you have to be somewhat altruistic, or have you? I guess I'm curious. Have you encountered greedy financial advisors?
Oh, when I first started, that was like when Boiler Room and all those movies were coming out. So yeah, I've met. I worked with a guy that used to work at a boiler room, and he had a cassette tape that he had taken from when because they recorded their calls, right? And he convinced this guy to buy this penny stock, and a penny stock is less than $2. They're generally not the most financially sound investments. He got this guy to say no like 18 times, and then he finally said yes. He was like, I don't know why the guy didn't just hang up, but he got him, and I was just like, the zingers that he threw out to get this guy to say yes, open an account, and send money in was just like, it blew me away. So yes, I've seen some really disgusting, terrible humans in my industry. As a matter of fact, I have never seen that movie because I won't. I just think it is what is the most reprehensible about
Wolf of Wall Street.
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
But things have changed now that there's a lot more regulation and it's fair. It's like, there's the fiduciary rule. There's a lot of good actors out there. And because the commissions have come in substantially, and because you're aligned now more than ever with your advisor, it's like, do you think your advisor wants you to have $1 million or $10 million? Yeah. He wants you to have more money because he makes more money under management. So that has really aligned the industry a lot. That also, however, going back to what you said, there are certain types of financial advisors or financial people that don't have to see the retail world. Those are the ones that are going to need the MBA and the CFA, which is a much better program if you really want to be in analytics and you don't want to talk to people, but you want to do institutional money. The Chartered Financial Analyst program is a very good program. Does not require a degree, does not require anything other than studying and taking those exams. And for getting into retail, like here in Dallas, in the Dallas area, North Texas area, you've got TD Ameritrade with a huge campus here. You've got Fidelity with a huge campus here. I think Schwab has a huge campus here in the area. And they will hire you. And if you study and you there's an SEI exam. It's like securities in SIE, maybe a securities industry exam. It's effectively the first part of one of the general securities licenses. And it's a great opportunity for people who don't even have a degree yet to study and take the exam. And if you're good at it, if you like the material, then you know that maybe you should be a broker. Maybe you should be a financial advisor. Take a look into it. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good opportunity for anybody who's not sure what they want to do. Take a look and see if that's something that interests you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And is that so that's separate from the CFA? That's
yeah. If we do a search for SIE exam, it'll pull right up. It's like from FINRA, the Financial Industries Regulations. Yeah. But it's I think that there's a lot of opportunities out there. Like Google came out and they said, here, you just take our certificate program too. You don't have to go to college, right? There's so many opportunities now for free education.
Yeah.
Right. And I think more people are becoming receptive to that. I think the numbers came out earlier today, which job openings show surprise increase in April. The labor market is very tight. Employers are looking anywhere they can to find qualified employees. What makes you a qualified employee?
Yeah. It just depends.
Now you've got so many different agencies, free education. How do you know? I've been coding for years. Here's what I do. This is my thing. Right?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, look, I took the securities exam and I like it. I want to do it. What do you think? You know, they don't need a college degree anymore. I found that out recently. Some of these big companies, big financial services firms aren't requiring an undergraduate degree. I was blown away.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess the question off of that was, do you even think like if you took the SIE exam, or if you did like a Google course, would that be enough to land a good starting job rather than do a 4-year degree?
Technically, yeah, right? I think that they would probably factor in anything else as well, right? Job experience, how long you've been doing it, what your grades were on it. But I don't think that there's anything that's going to push you out of it. Everything is getting, they just want bodies, right?
Yeah.
They want bodies that can actually function and do their job, right? I mean, if you're not performing up to expectations, they don't have to keep you either, though. Right. And I think you're going to see that pendulum swing. That could be part of the reason why there are so many job openings. Recently, I know several people that have hired people and had high turnover. One of the companies that I invested in recently, we were looking and the turnover is a little high. Why? Because people aren't focused on the mission. They don't want to be, they just wanted a job. They thought it was going to be exciting. And then all of a sudden it's not. And so then they leave.
Yeah.
So I think this helicopter and boomerang cycle needs to stop so we get some real numbers so we can figure out where we really are.
Yeah. It's definitely, just trying to find the best path with, because I've been looking into the Google certificates. Like, there's so many programs you can learn how to code. There's like a Harvard class you can take for free. That's like a 6-week class. They'll teach you how to code. So it's just like all these certifications and like programs where most likely, like, I learned more. Like, I took a certification class, like, through Google, and I learned more through that class than I did my MS class, like, all semester. So it's just, like, these, like, courses are, like, they're teaching you more, in my opinion, more information, more valuable information you need than, like, the regular MIS or finance course you take in college. But it's just, like, the factor of, is that degree, is that certification enough to get you, like, that, like, I guess, want to be hired by big companies, or do you still need that 4-year degree? So that's definitely a big question. And
I think right now it appears to be the case that you can.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that stays that way, and I don't know where the paradigm shift happens or if it happens. Maybe it gets looser, maybe it gets stronger. But there's a conversation that Sohail and I have fairly regularly, which is like, how the world has changed in such a short period of time.
yeah,
That being that there's time during the day to have conversations like this, as opposed to breaking your back outside in the heat trying to grow crops in the South Texas in the middle of the summer.
yeah,
So I see that with the tools that we have now, productivity is getting much better. I think it's more companies are being started because of ideas and the tools that they have, and they just need more people to help them do their own stuff. Like, I wonder how long we have these enormous companies with enormous staffs versus a bunch of smaller companies that are more mission driven, that are going to be more widget like. What are your thoughts on that, Sohail?
Could you repeat that?
I was saying that, like, for example, the studio here, it used to be that you would have to go to a professional studio. You'd have to be a member of the press to be able to use these types of setups. And now you see more and more companies specializing in more and more content creators. You don't have to have the big letter studios and news reporters and anchors. I mean, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have all these things showing people what we're doing and how we're doing and how to advertise, right? So same thing with our content and our news. And I think that happens with every industry, right? Like, it's no longer just a Foot Locker. You can actually have a small box, big box store of your own with access to the same stuff, and you're more nimble.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that happens everywhere. I think that happens in multiple industries and continues to be, that last electron.
Yeah, I think with content and news especially, I like to relate it to maybe 15 years ago or even 20 years ago, the evolution of looking at music creation and the music industry and content in that realm, when softwares like Fruity Loops, Logic, Ableton came out. These are all softwares you can pirate or download that thousands of kids did across America and learned how to make music, where the barrier of entry was so low, and it resulted in obviously the oversaturation of horrible content, but it also resulted in some of the best artists that came out in the past 15 years that just did it on their computer, right? So the combination of this widgetization, or I would say the accessibility, the increased accessibility to being able to create art or to be able to express however you would like to, or create however you'd like to, in combination with the communication ability given by the internet and these social platforms, you result in, this polar amazing music and amazing content coming to the top, but also just dog shit.
Yeah.
And that's happening right now with news, blogs, reporting, websites, everything that can be AI'd. Music again, So it's like, what's good's good. I don't believe what's good always. I think there's maybe some sinister hidden factors that, push people up. I'm talking about meritocracy, but with the internet, and we're talking about Web3, it gets me excited to, have more ownership and peer-to-peer accountability. Get these labels out of here, get these, studios out of here.
Mm-hmm. I find it just, again, it's like that double-edged sword, right? You can put into a machine now, I want it to have something with this number of beats per minute. I want it to do this, and sound like this person.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you give credit that way?
Yeah,
right?
It's definitely a big factor of oversaturation. Like with social media, and like every kid wants to be like a social media star. Like they all see everyone making money on social media, everyone making music. Like it's just like a big deal of oversaturation, I guess. Like just putting yourself out there and like making yourself stand out is also a big factor, because like anyone can do like the basics of like social media. It's just like finding that way to stand out, and like it's just like I guess it's a big problem now. I guess it's
like a hope of mine would be that this oversaturation and the automation of everything and creating music, like it changes our perception of creation, it changes our perception of art, and we are more afforded through our more efficient system of economic production to pursue art and pursue creation that self-fulfills us and self-fulfills the people that find fulfillment in the people that in listening or consuming your art. But you take out the profit incentive of creation, you take out the profit incentive of many things, because of the increased efficiency and oversaturation. Otherwise everything becomes meaningless. Like, what's the point of having
that's the whole part, is like you still have, everyone wants to profit. You still want to profit, right? So how do you profit in a world where everything seems free? That gets back to that conversation about like, what is human life worth? Do you pay Do you pay the guy that actually has like advanced degrees a bigger living wage than someone who didn't? Do you pay the guy who actually knows how to fix your car more than the guy who just knows how to read and write? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but you definitely want, people need to monetize, right? You still want to be able to provide for yourself. I think the struggle is real. You want to have that struggle. Otherwise, if everything is pampered, taken care of, that's a slippery slope to dying early and dying young.
Yeah.
I mean, for the foreseeable future, we're still going to need tradespeople. We're still going to need these robots that are scaling. Radio towers are expensive, but eventually we might not. So then what? Then our struggles will be different.
Well, by then they'll with the Neuralink they'll upload my consciousness and I'll
Into
just
a robot.
Yeah, I'll just run around in a robot for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how boring life would be if you lived forever? Oh my, it'd be horrible.
But yeah, this is good stuff. Any final thoughts or closing thoughts?
So yeah, I just want you to take a fair and honest assessment of the things that you learn over the summer, and hopefully we can talk about the things you learned in a follow up at the end.
Yeah, we got to check back in.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, a month checkup.
And are you staying with Frank?
I'm staying with my brother. He lives in Frisco.
Right, you're
so
in Frisco.
I'll be
Okay.
staying with my brother
Well,
during the summer.
Keep poking Frank. I set up a camera for him. I want him to use it.
You got
Like
it.
a daily life camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, just put it on live stream, Frank, and we can just stream your whole day.
Me cursing at the screen. Up some. Great. Well, thanks everyone for watching another segment of Money in the Bank with Frank. Thanks, Alec, for joining us in your first day of your internship.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, everyone. Feel free to join, chat, and look forward to seeing you next week.